happy to have all of you here. And obviously, it's a diversified panel. I'll not go through the panel, but I think leave that to Himendra, my colleague, to take on. I think what really is important is, the discourse on usage of technology thus far has been limited to or primarily focused on the cropping side. And clearly that's been the most visible part of Indian agriculture. But what we've been now working very closely on, along with Suresh and his colleagues, is to see how we, increase the visibility of digital solutions as in.
Raman, you're muted.
Raman, you went.
I just got muted. Sorry. So in India, like I said, we call this the allied agriculture sector, and we believe, and it contributes significantly to the overall agriculture GDP of the country. So we believe that a lot of solutions are out there, and there are existing solutions that can be applied to the poultry sector, as you will see with some of the startup presentations from India today. The second dimension, which has been in the news or in the conversations now over the last year or so, is the intersection of fintech or finance with agtech. And I think from the panelists today, I'm sure you'll hear a lot of those things. So we are actually not trying to do a straight-jacketed focus on just pure poultry. We believe there is a need for cross-sectoral energies to come, and that's what today's conversation will bring. We hope to be doing more of these poultry conversations in the coming months, so please keep an eye out. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to my colleague Himendra. Over to you, Himendra.
Thanks, Raman. And I welcome all the panelists and all the participants on the call. And as Raman mentioned, that poultry is an extremely important sector. And I personally believe that there's a lot of role that innovations can play in making this whole poultry supply chain more efficient and demand-driven. And we have 4 startups today with us who are going to talk about it. And clearly, as far as digitalization is concerned, I think that is also extremely critical. We are already seeing a lot of solutions. We had some startups in the first 2 episodes also who talked about how digital solutions can be used in monitoring of farms, in managing diseases, in developing a demand-driven tech-enabled supply chains, controlling mortality rate. So these are some really wonderful solutions, but the big challenge is adoption. And secondly, also the depth of the startup ecosystem in poultry. We have 1,000 agri-tech startups in the country, but if you look at startups which are focusing on poultry are still few, maybe less than 20, 25. We need to have at least 50 to 100 startups coming from this sector. That's where we start seeing a lot of these innovations becoming mainstream. So I think these are some of the ideas that we want to discuss today, and we're very fortunate to have a great panel and a great set of cohorts from the startup founders who will be talking about the innovation they are doing. So let me just take a minute in introducing the panel and the founders who have joined us. So we have Mr. Suresh Chituri. He's the VC and MD for Srinivasa Farms, and he's also the chairman for International Egg Commission, and brings in wealth of knowledge, has a very, very forward-looking vision, and he's been helping us throughout this journey of developing egg clinics around poultry. So thanks, Suresh, for partnering with us. Then we have Dr. Vijay Makhija. He's the General Secretary for Indian Federation of Animal Health Companies, also called as INFA. I've known Vijay for last 2 years, and I find him someone who's probably one of the most networked person in the poultry and animal healthcare industry. So I think he can add a lot of value in building this startup corporate engagements. So welcome, Vijay. We look forward to hear from you. Thank you. Thank you. Then we have Mr. Prabhakaran S. He's head of risk, agri and supply chain at RBL Bank. I have heard him at multiple forums. I think he brings in a lot of knowledge around financing of agricultural value chain, and I'm sure he has experience in the poultry value chain as well. So I think his ideas around how to build financing models for poultry farmers and value chain players will be very, very useful. Welcome, Mr. Prabhakaran. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.
And last but not the least, we have Dr. Rajya Verma, who is the founder director at Arthagram. I've never met him, but whatever I've heard of Arthagram, whatever I hear from others about Arthagram, I think they're doing a phenomenal job in driving the financial inclusion in the rural areas. And Dr. Verma himself is an authority in insurance sector. And I think he can talk about how we can build interesting insurance solutions for the poultry sector. So thank you, Dr. Verma, for joining us. Welcome to the panel.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then we have 4 startups who have joined us or who want to join us in a short while. We have Mr. Venkatesh Ramachandran. He is the CEO of Tender Cuts, a farm to fork supply chain in meat and poultry. I think we are seeing so much momentum in this space, with likes of Tender Cut and Dishes and Fresh to Home, raising good amount of money. And there's a good likelihood that the first unicorn in the agri-tech will probably come from one of these meat and poultry supply chain startups. So welcome, Venkatesh.
Thank you for me.
Thank you. Then we have Aman. Aman is the CEO of AgClinic Technology, who's developed solutions for monitoring of poultry farms. I think he again brings in a lot of experience. He's been working with a lot of poultry companies. Welcome, Aman, to the panel.
Thank you.
Then we have Yael Alter. She's the CEO of SUS Technology. She's joining us from Israel. Thanks, Yael, for joining us today. And I think she's doing some very interesting work on poultry sex determination. I think very, very important area, which Yael can talk about. Last but not the least, my friend Rajat Gupta is the CEO and founder of Tessol. Tessol is a market leader in cold chain solution, working across industries. But again, poultry is one of the target segments. So welcome, Rajat.
Thanks, Amendra.
Good to see you. Thank you. So with that, maybe we can get started, and I'll request Suresh to share his opening remarks, share his view on the industry in general, and specifically on startups. How do we drive corporate startup engagement in the poultry sector? Suresh, over to you.
Thanks, Hemendra and Raman, and all the panelists. Goes without saying, the startups, and especially like Hemendra was saying, Tender Cuts and all are creating exciting times. Of course, it's a good customer of ours. So, and very proud to see him grow, and looking forward to doing more. And but again, I think like we started with this digitalization is like what computerization was, I guess 20 years back, right? And there is no future if you're not going to digitalize, and that's the part. That's how I look at it, and I think that's how we need to start looking at it. And we have started getting deeper into that at many levels, and exciting times, yeah, looking at the startups and all that, it's want to hear them, and as usual, many of these startups are coming up with ideas we could never think of. We've been in this industry for 55 years, but maybe we are too stuck in our old ways of doing things, and that's where I think the startups come and add value. And there is tremendous potential. There is no doubt about that. And all said and done, now the startups that are into retail are still not even, I don't know if they've cracked even 1% of the market share. So when you consider that's the direction it's going in, and somehow every time the lockdown happens, they seem to be the happiest, because their market is going 300-400%. And of course, my sale to them is going up 300-400%. So I'm also happy. But we're still stuck in the old business to a big extent. and it needs to alter, it needs to change, because hygiene is very important, and then also other issues, the risks of old ways of doing are very high. And I think, and maybe Prabhakaran and Dr. Verma will tell us, especially Dr. Verma, on how insurance can play a bigger, how they can actually start supporting us, because to a large extent, insurance is absent in our industry. So they insure us against some assets and all that, but not the birds. And I think that's where digitalization, I think, has to come in. I think the biggest, yeah, I understand the issues. The issues are about the trusting the numbers and all that. And I think that's where digitalization could probably help us all. So I think that said, I want to hear the speakers. Heminder, I think let's start.
Thanks, Suresh. No, I totally agree. And I think another opportunity which I see emerging is this direct to consumer. Such a large play. There's a report which says the D2C market across categories is $100 billion. And fashion and food are the top most categories. And clearly Tendergut is one example who has done it. Eggos is doing it, branding its own eggs and selling eggs in Eggos brand to the consumer. So I think D2C models are here to stay, and we are going to see a lot of innovation.
Yeah, we have started in eggs, Heminder. We are almost growing, doubling every 3 months. So it's actually quite interesting. That's what my son is asking. He said, "Dad, why did you wait so long?" Something you should have started 20 years back. But of course, the world was very different then. But I think that's what I'd still tell him. I mean, if you continue like this, we're still not late. So, and yeah, and I think consumers are waiting for that. Some very interesting numbers yesterday I saw on Twitter about the e-commerce and direct to consumer, how that is growing. That's phenomenal, right? I mean, and then the numbers, and to think about it, we have just started scratching the surface of the opportunity, right? Yeah.
I think in food, D2C is more about controlling the supply chain, right? That's what creates brand. That I think probably 10 years back that was not possible because there were not enough technologies. But what we are seeing, innovations around traceability, food safety, quality controls, I think that is making it possible. So probably it's a good timing now. So with that, maybe I can move to Dr. Vijay Makhija. Vijay, you have been in the industry for so long. You have been General Secretary with INFA. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about what INFA does, and how does startups coordinate? How does startup reach out to corporates? Most of them. And are there any reservations from the corporate side in terms of adopting some of these new technologies? How do we bridge the gap? So we want to hear that from you, Vijay.
Thank you, Hemendra. First of all, thank you to Srinivasa Group and TEG for giving us this opportunity to interact and share our views. So INFA abbreviation stands for Indian Federation of Animal Health Companies. So it's a strong progressive force of 52 companies working together for one motto, that is healthier animals, healthier India. So we have been in India for almost now since 2012. And throughout this year, we have been a progressive force to represent animal health and nutrition industry at various platforms and various stakeholders. We work in a very focused manner through 8 subcommittees. So each subcommittee has got a very focused, targeted segment where they work. For example, the Feed Supplement Subcommittee, Biological and Biosecurity Subcommittee, Therapeutic and Disinfectant Subcommittee, Ayurveda Subcommittee, Human Resources Subcommittee, Aquaculture Subcommittee, and Import-Export Subcommittee, plus GMP and CSR Subcommittee. So all these subcommittees have a very dedicated focus on addressing the issues of different nature. Just to give an example, like one of the initiative of INFA is INFA Connect. Through this INFA Connect, we impart a lot of knowledge, a lot of sharing to many of the stakeholders. Just on the 6th of July last week, we conducted a dedicated webinar on zoonosis, that is the diseases which are transmittable from animals to human beings. So to create an awareness on that, we have a very distinguished speakers talking about how role of animal health can play in minimizing the zoonosis. This is one of the initiatives Plus, we have been focusing on the areas of One Health. We have been focusing in the area of how we can mitigate the challenges which are coming through for the AMR, antimicrobial resistance. So these are the few elements, plus also ease of doing businesses. So we are helping members in terms of addressing their concerns, issues, for making ease of doing business a possibility. So coming back to your question, Hemendra, you have been to our AGM, and thanks for being with us. And Suresh sir as well has come to Infa AGM, and we have exchanged thoughts also. We are very much looking forward to collaborate with startups who can come, you can say, and discuss their propositions with us. The three areas which we have seen animal health has been focusing in recent times, and also in the future, which you already touch upon. One is the monitoring through the examples of digital technology like sensors to know the poultry flock monitoring, and also the performances, plus also any health challenges, so that timely intervention can address those issues. Then comes about the uh, predictive analytics. So how this big data can be churned and make into meaningful insight, so that a timely prediction can be done for the performances. And the third one comes about the diagnostic technologies. So these are very important for differential diagnosis of the diseases, because if the animals and the birds are healthier, definitely it's a good economic proposition for the production, and also it is good for the human beings as well, so that if we get a safe meat and safe eggs. So these are the three big ticket areas which we are working. And perhaps the one viewpoint I have is around this COVID situation in 1.5 years has actually fast-tracked the adoption of digitalization. We have seen so many activities happening on digital platform nowadays. Otherwise, if COVID was not there, it was being taken a little longer time. But blessing in disguise. So we have seen in the new normal adoption of technology very rapid. I've seen adoption of artificial intelligence, augmented reality, virtual reality, all these things coming up very rapidly in animal health segment as well. So coming to the point that how startups can be engaged with us, like platform like this, where you have entire value chain players coming at one point and exchanging knowledge, exchanging ideas. So I look forward that if we have some interesting projects or interesting ideas coming up, we can go back to our members and discuss those opportunities where we can collaborate.
Thanks, Vijay. Thanks very much. And my request is also if we can organize a workshop of sorts where you can invite Infa members and we can help you get some good startups from poultry, aqua, and dairy. I think that'll be a very good discussion, and I'm sure that will translate to some interesting partnership.
Sure, Hemendra, and we can explore this possibility and work together on this.
Okay, thanks, Vijay.
Yeah.
Great. Now I'll move over to Mr. Prabhakaran. Mr. Prabhakaran, you've been doing the financing for the agricultural sector for a long time. And this whole new era of agri-fintech, which is still very nascent but evolving, is throwing some very interesting opportunity in terms of adopting innovative models for financing. And a lot of that is enabled because of data and digitalization. So we want to hear from you. How do you see these new age models coming up, specifically in poultry? If you have some examples or if you have some ideas, how do we can enhance financing to small poultry farmers or poultry value chain members? That will be very helpful. Over to you, sir.
Yeah. Thanks, Hemendra. Thanks, Tingak, for inviting me for this, giving me this opportunity to interact with. Hope I'm audible to everyone.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So I have started my career in banking in Namakkal. So in 2002, that is the 2004 actually. So that is predominantly a layer built where the poultry is predominantly present. So I think in 2005 I think 2004 we had a first bird flu which hit this industry. So I've seen the bottom where people are selling birds at a throwaway price or giving melas at free of cost just to create an awareness that this bird flu is not going to kill this industry. So I've seen multiple bird flu which is hitting every one or 2 years. So there is a cycle in this industry. One, you have a bird flu. The other one is a raw material which is not in the hands of the producers. So there are many volatility which is associated with this industry. So the Excel sheet cannot work in this industry. So what can work is, so I've split this industry into two different areas. One is a layer, which is predominantly your south market of Namakkal, Andhra Pradesh, which is like only table X. So even if it is a larger size, if somebody doing about 2 lakh, 3 lakh, 5 lakhs of layers, which is not very big in terms of funding. So it's only needs a major component of term funding, which needs maybe about 5 to 7 years, because there are a lot of volatility now. Because earlier days, people used to have a lot of margins, but these margins have been now come down because of the prices are volatile, and you can't fix this raw material price throughout the year. And suddenly, if some kind of events comes, like COVID-19, suddenly people said that it is getting spread, because this media is also like giving a lot of negative news suddenly, which actually affects zero consumption. So either you destroy these eggs, or it is not consumed by human being. So that is one industry. So there it is predominant term loan, working capital is very less. It is all today catered by the banks present in those regions. Not many banks do as a product model, like where I have a dedicated product module. So okay, somebody does about a 1 lakh with an advanced technology, what can be a cost of funding? Nobody works in that model. And second is a broiler industry. Here it's I think there are a lot of visibility, and now banks have understood. And I work with all the four or five anchor players in this industry. I work for about from a banking solution perspective. So I work with them for about last 7-8 years across the organizations. So there is one integrated complete value chain model where the company works from the GP to till chicken processing and supply to, maybe some of them are trying to go into B2C model also. So they were present in all the value chain. So which becomes easy for us to know, even if in one value chain, if they lose money. So sometimes the integration may lose money. Sometimes this your contract breeding farm at egg level you may lose, but on an entire value chain, so you will make one rupee. So finally, it converts into a per kg. When you sell, you make some handsome gain, or your losses are minimized. I think today the one big lag is they are not able to reach to the consumer. As a consumer, maybe you are buying it at the same price again and again, but these prices are not passed back to the integrator or the farmer who's producing. So I think in that, a lot of this fintech companies or your technology companies are playing a larger role, just bringing the fair price to the farmer and also the fair price to the consumer with the quality. So I think that is one angle which I like it most in this. Then in this, I think today all the big players are adequately funded. I don't think there is a scarcity in terms of funding. What is lack in this is the farmers who does a contract breeding farm with the anchors. There is no product model available today. If somebody wants to fund it, unless otherwise, I know the local banks, nobody comes and do a voluntary funding, which happens like when you buy a vehicle, you have a 4 financiers, but when you want to put a poultry sheds, you have to go and approach a bank and ask for a funding. This is a scenario which is prevalent. So what we are thinking of a model in the banking system is like, now slowly this industry is getting matured. People are becoming more well aware, and they wanted to grow, and this has become a continuous and allied income for the farming community also, because today your regular agriculture doesn't give an income. So at least this gives a consistency of income, and the risk is also largely borne by the integrator. So the farmer income is something which is assured. Whether you sell whether the integrator sell the bird at 70 a kg or a 50 a kg, the farmer income is assured. So with an assured income, if you can work on the model where the only risk which I've seen, I've worked with a company and I've seen, is when the farmer switch over from company A integrator to a company B, I don't have a clue, because my integration, my agreement with the integrator A is that as long as he supplies, he will route the cash flows with me. But once he walks away from the deal, this partnership model gets broken. So I think we are working with the companies now. If there is a partnership, consistent partnership is there. Since I work across all the value chain, all the companies, so I can go to, if he shifts from A, moment I come to know which company he shifts, so I have to go to company B and ask, saying, boss, he's been my borrower, he's taken a loan from me, so this shares belongs to me, so I can do that tie-up. So that will help me in terms of mitigating my risk. This is one option. And also the other risk which I think bank perceive is there is no insurance available, because I feel when the bird flu comes, if bird dies or some other disease comes, I don't have any insurance option available. So I think maybe Dr. Vijay Makhija can give some, or sir, Dr. Rajya Verma can give some solutions for this industry, which can actually way to mitigate our risk also. So apart from this, I also feel there are other opportunities in this with the meat processing coming into a larger play. So this is more than I say, it is a must. Considering today the wet market manages about 95% or 98% of today's sale. It has a lot of pollution hazards. It has a lot of quality issues. With this, I think maybe going forward, the municipalities might have a strict embargo on these wet centers, saying that you cannot process, because these guys dispose the waste at a commons, open this thing, or in drainage, which affects the entire ecosystem. So that is not I don't see maybe 5 years down the line, when you dispose this waste, you will be penalized or you will be charged for this waste. When that kind of scenario comes, technically there is going to be a processing centers at every level, every nearby major cities. So that will create an opportunity for banking also to fund, because that is at least, there's a sustainable model, because they will supply so many outlets and you can work around some kind of numbers. Then there is another value chain which you can come in this, the feed, standalone feed players supplying to a individual poultry farm. There is also a value chain. So that I think today it is met with a lot of bankers funding these standalone feed players, even at a smaller level, because it has an attraction of, one is a PSL, priority sector lending targets, which is available for the banks up to 100 crores, even in the poultry value chain. And also we can work with suppliers and distributors of these feeds and poultry raw materials. That is another avenue which we can work on based on the offtake agreement, because that is another model which can getting evolved in the financing system. So in this, I feel there are two risks which I think I also request. My wish list is like the regulator. Today, this industry can, as I said, it cannot work on Excel sheet. The regulators look at as and when there is a difficulty in the value chain. If an apex body like NECC or Poultry Association comes up with a solution, this year is a bad year in poultry. Maybe those years there should be kind of relaxation in terms of repayment, what they've allowed it in kind of COVID period. So if it is so lot many industry can actually, when in difficult times, this, because all this poultry industry involves massive capex. Your land itself is a very heavy cost. So if the land put up a structure minimal, considering this, I think regulator can think of whenever there is an apex body which can come with a clear cut guidance. Okay, this regions are affected by XYZ, maybe bird flu, maybe raw material rise, or the oversupply, some kind of scenario. So if there is a confirmation from them, today also I think in agriculture lending, if there is a drought, the state announce, okay, these regions have been affected by drought, so the banks are allowed to restructure. So I think that kind of scenario can work on for this farmer funding or poultry allied industry, which will help. The other thing is, I think insurance side, if there is any support which is available to the banking system, these two will definitely be a add-on to banking system to fund this industry. I think that's all for now. If there's any further clarification, I can take up further.
Thank you, Prabhakaran. And few questions from my side before I go to Dr. Verma. One is, what is the typical loan sizes to the poultry farmers, and what is the typical interest rate they pay? Second question is, since you work with integrators, do integrators also bear some credit risk? If there's some default or something. And last, I'm assuming does poultry financing, does it fall under PSL lending?
Yeah, so I'll answer one by one. I'll answer come from the reversal. The priority sector lending is applicable for all the individual farm level lending. If there's a small catch here, if it is a standalone poultry unit beyond 2 crore rupees, I think this is very tricky kind of circular which has come in. For individual, there is no cap, but as a firm or a corporate entity involved in poultry farming, if more than 2 crores for a standalone poultry is not eligible for PSL. But if they have an integrated, starting from the feed mill to a processing, so if all these things are involved, the cap is up to 100 crores from banking system is eligible for PSL. Beyond this, it will not be PSL. So many of the large integrator will not come in PSL, but it will become a pure commercial solution. So the purpose of working with them is to understand the value chain, and if at all we can work for any kind of association risk mitigant tools, which is possible, then we can work on. So to answer your second question on, do the integrator bear risk? Today, not many integrators bears the credit risk, but at least I see there are 1 or 2 companies which has come up with solution providing in terms of migrating into an environmental set. So because investments are very heavy for especially for broiler farming, to have a good productivity across the cycle. So there is a conversion which is happening from normal conventional system to environmental control system. So by doing this, you will have better productivity. You can have 6 cycles and uniform this thing. So maybe you can control the external environment, so your mortality can be lower, and you can also have a better FCR, feed conversion ratio. So I think there 1 or 2 suppliers are willing to bear certain kind of risk, maybe getting into a kind of 7-year long-term by tripartite agreement, so they cannot do anything. So, and they will also assure some kind of equity investments to start with. Maybe for the first 3 years they will be part of it, then subsequently they will amortize their risk also. That is the kind of risk, but at least definitely if there is a credit risk mitigant in terms of if the integrator can give, I think this industry can definitely grow to a larger extent. The third piece is about interest. The farmer interest will be definitely costlier because my risk is very high, and my recovery prospects also very high, because I have to follow the DRT route, and my recovery is longer, and the percentage of default is also higher. So there the rates are maybe about 10-11% today's ruling rate in the market. But the commercials integrators are rates vary between maybe anywhere between 8 to 11%, depends on their credit ratings.
And what's the typical loan size to poultry farmers?
Poultry farmers are about 5 lakhs to, it can go up to 15 lakhs also.
This is term loan or working capital?
It's all term loans. Poultry farmers in broiler side, you don't need any working capital, because the entire inputs are given by the integrator. So their investment is only labor and the fixed cost.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very useful.
Thanks.
So now I'll come to Dr. Verma. Dr. Verma, first of all, we want to know a little bit more about Arthagram. We've read about it, we've heard about it. I think it'd be good if you can share a little bit about what you do. And specifically, I think there seems to be crying need for insurance solutions. I think across all the sectors in agriculture, but probably more so in poultry, because of the frequency of disease outbreak that we see is it's becoming more and more frequent. And also there are a lot of price shocks, there's so much of price volatility, whether it's egg or meat. So I'm sure insurance has a role to play. So if you can talk about this, that'll be very useful. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Hemant. And it's wonderful to be here with all our participants and the panelists here. Good evening to all. I'll take 30 minutes, 30 seconds for giving some brief or something about me and ArthaGram, what it is, as you asked me. ArthaGram is a startup which I started in 2019, just before Corona. And after exiting my, I would say, the as an employee journey in India and abroad. After coming back to India, I started this venture in 2019 as ArthaGram, which is basically for the agriculture, crop, and micro insurance segment. Micro insurance takes care of this health, PA, personal accident, and the rural livestock sector. This was basically the purpose of ArthaGram, is to take up the projects on the ground, to implement the projects, consultancies, training. And this is the, in brief, the ArthaGram comes into the picture. I founded this company as ArthaGram. It's a public limited company. Something about me, professionally, I'm a veterinarian. And I did my master's in poultry science. I did my MBSc in poultry science way back in 1981. And I did my poultry research on poultry genetics, breeding. So that was my area of work when I was in the college. And after that, initially few years I spent in the government sector and the academic colleges, Gujarat and Jabalpur Veterinary College. Then I switched over to the insurance sector, and then the journey from 84 to till now has been in the insurance sector, in the public sector, as well as after public sector, I was in the private sector, and then overseas assignment, I went outside. So this is a bit in short about me, because I wanted to narrate, because many of, almost all the panelists are here, maybe all the participants also I'm meeting for the first time, though I have been interacting on the various platforms relating to the insurance sector. And I'm very happy that this is this panel where I'm here, and I'm thankful to you and the Srinivasa Farms, Thinkedge, and Srinivasa Farm to invite me here, and I'm very happy to share what I know something about the poultry insurance here. So I'll give you the little background about the poultry insurance sector, how it is developed in India. See, there are 4 public sector insurance companies and about 20 and odd companies in the private sector insurance company. And almost all companies are having the poultry insurance product. The poultry insurance comes under the rural insurance segment of an insurance company. I'm just giving you the general perspective about how it is. So the poultry insurance is being underwritten, or the business is transacted under their rural insurance segment. And almost 40 years when the GIC came into existence in 1972, the poultry insurance product is available with the company. All the 4 general insurance company and the private insurance company from 2000 onward, when the private insurance company came into existence. All companies are having the product, means the insurance product for the layer bird, broilers, hatchery birds, ducks, quails, all type of birds, whatever. The product is there. They have filed with the regulator. They have the product. They have the product for the assets of the insurance, poultry farm, like the building or equipments and the hatchery machines and all, whatever the equipments and machineries are implemented in the poultry farms. They have the insurance companies are having the insurance product for transit of the birds from one place to another, from breeder place to the farmer place. So, and then the loss of profit policy. The bigger corporates, those who are into the poultry insurance, poultry farming, and big players, they also have the, for them, the loss of profit policy is also there because of it. What it covers is the poultry insurance covers the death of the bird due to diseases and or accident. This is the basically risk coverage of disease and accident, or in case if there is any emergency slaughter on the medical grounds, that also covered under that. Any type of accidents, fire, flood, earthquake, these very common risks are there, and these risks are also covered. And birds, layer birds are covered from 0 day to 72 weeks of age, broiler from 0 day to 6 to 8 weeks of their age, and hatchery bird is also up to 72 weeks of age. In insurance industry, the 72 up to 72 weeks are taken as the commercial viable underwriting age of the bird. So this is about the insured bits. The premium rates are also 4 to 5% in the country. Now, the major challenge where in spite of 40 years, the insurance companies are having the product, the business underwritten is only very, very minuscule. I'm really surprised to give you the figure, and which is very, very minuscule, and that is the premium of all companies put together in the poultry is less than 10 crores in India. That is it. Less than 10 crore the premium, whereas each companies are having their portfolio size of the New India is having the 20,000 crores of premium overall, or the entire general insurance companies having the premium of more than 1 lakh crore of premium, whereas the poultry from the premium from poultry insurance policies are less than 10 crore put together of all PSUs and the private companies. So that's so there, Mr. Prabhakaran, when he was asking, yes, it is a problem. Why it is? This is a the general insurance experience that they don't write, and why they don't write. That's a $1 million question, and I'm going to deliberate also on that, why it is happening here. And I have seen my journey of 35 years, and I have also seen from the very close corners that yes, what are the myths there in the poultry, and the insurance industry are having the myths. So in general, what happens is, in practice, whenever the poultry insurance is to be done, the insurance industry avoids, and sometimes the farmer also avoids to take the insurance of their birds or livestock. That is the factual situation. Insurance companies also avoid. It's also a fact that what they do is, the intermediate route, what they do is they insure the assets, physical assets other than the livestock of the poultry farm, shed, machinery, equipment, feeder, waterers, and all other whatever they are in the poultry farm, but not the livestock. Some of the other, the bankers also take that, or the lenders, whether it's a NBFC or the bank, those who are financing it, they also take that policy with them and keep it in their record and showing it to the auditor. Okay, that's what we have got our finance and insured with this our policy, and the auditors also in the bank. Okay, fine, that's okay. If you are so somewhere there is a gap which is causing the problem for the real poultry farmer, those who want to really take the risk or cover the risk of their livestock. That is all. So this is why it is happening. Now I'll tell you why it is happening in the insurance industry. Long back, they believe on whatever perception they have about the invariably adverse losses happening in poultry, and the entire poultry farm or entire stock dies whenever any disease is spread. Then all the bird dies at one point, and the insurance company are saddened with the large claims. And initially they experienced also, because when they did, initially insurance companies started this poultry insurance for the small and marginal farmers as their rural and social obligation. When they did it, then 30, 40 years, I'm talking about, if it is very old, 30, 40 years back, the poultry industry was not so developed. And the losses were invariably higher. Whenever they are insured, the loss ratio was much more than the expected by the insurance company. And that apprehension is still prevailing, that in poultry, the loss is happening in a very large volumes. So insurer try to keep them away from this segment, and to compensate their rural insurance obligation, they do it from the livestock or from other sectors or aquaculture or crop insurance. Now, another challenge is if they take the very large risk, then they have to keep it in their net. When they have to keep it in their net means within their own risk profile, they have to keep it. Whereas they need to have the reinsurance support for that. But I think it is not a big challenge for the insurance company to get the reinsurance support from the reinsurance player, global reinsurance player, or Indian reinsurance player, GIC Re. One more challenge is why it is happening is the insurance companies are not having the, or their officials are not having the insurance business operations, how insurance business operate in the field. They think that insurance business is a very risky business, or insurance, poultry business is a very risky business, and they do not know much about how the poultry business runs by the poultry farmer. Nowadays, many good technologies have come in, and the losses in the poultry are not to the extent which was perceived a long back, that yes, earlier it used to happen losses, but nowadays it is not happening in that way. The losses are happening. Yeah, once in a while, somewhere in some sporadic pockets, there's some bird flu or some other type of diseases may come in. But that does not mean that it is going to be a problem for the large scale sector on the poultry industry. So this is another, the insurance industry, people should be given training about the poultry business, how poultry business operate. Then there's another challenge is in industry, poultry industry, there is very essential to keep it very scientifically managed, keep all the records to be maintained in their form, whether it's the egg production or the feed production or water consumption, diseases or the vaccination, so all type of, or the market prices, whatever there, they have to keep all these records in. Insurance company insist on that. Sometimes the middle-sized farmers or the small middle-sized farmer find it difficult to maintain all these records, and each record to the extent in its 100% accuracy. That's the problem is in the field, that's what. Another reason is the insurance settlement process for the farmer is a bit little complex. And similarly, the insurance companies are not in a position, or they could not explain how the insurance claims are being settled, how it is to be processed, how these claims are processed, and how they get the compensation, whatever. So they do not fall into any myths. They should be explained. The insurance company have to explain to the farmer how they are going to take up the claims whenever their losses occurs. With this background, now I think the little background, there are many things which are there, but with this background, having knowledge about the poultry business, fintech player, and to my experience, fintech player and agriculture startups, those who are into the poultry sector, they have a very big role to play. As I'm finding in all other sector, incidentally, I'm an advisor to a company in the dairy industry. They are doing the digitization of the identification of cattle. And I'm finding that they are being accepted by every sector in the dairy industry, whether insurance or the banking or the farmers or the retail person or the research institute, academic institutions. So what I mean to say is, giving this example is, the the fintech player or the agriculture technical tech player, they have a large scope here in the poultry sector to come out with some innovation wherein they can do some sort of real online trading platform, training platform, policy generation, information sharing to the insurance companies, claim settlement for the claim processing. So there are many things which innovation can be done when the tech player comes into the picture. I'm not aware of any such significant technology. Maybe some of the big corporates may be having of their own, but may not be the all middle-sized farmer or small farmer. So the transparency of information when it reaches from farmer to the insurer, then probably the insurance companies may find themselves comfortable to come out with their cocoon and start selling the insurance and giving this insurance protection to the farmer. So this is, I think, I have to give this information about it. Yes, this technical player, fintech player or tech player have a larger role to play here in the coming days, at least now. If there is
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Verma. This is very useful and a very practical view of what's happening. I think 10 crore insurance for the entire poultry industry is like a drop in the ocean. Exactly. Clearly, a lot has to happen in terms of designing of products, distribution of products, and creating misperception which insurance industry might have about the risk involved. And probably data can help underwriting some of those risks. I think that's where I see the future. One question for you from my side. When it comes to livestock insurance, is it the flock which is insured, or can you do a bird level?
What happens is a batch of the entire batch is covered. Whenever the batch comes from the hatchery, the entire batch is covered. And in poultry insurance, what they do is whenever insurance is done, all the birds in the farm are insured. Then only it is a mandatory requirement for the poultry insurance that all birds in the farm of the different age groups has to be covered. Another thing which I just missed is to mention here is, in fact, and I don't know if someone may correct also to me, that nowadays the poultry business is not that risky, which used to be 20, 30, 40 years maybe. Mr. Suresh may supplement on that. Nowadays, the poultry business is not that risky. But I mean to say, when I say this thing, it is for the insurance industry to come out with this. This risk is not to that extent that when those here and there they read in the newspaper that some outbreak has happened here and that area. But that does not mean that entire industry is into the very, very large risk. So somewhere we had to see that in the poultry industry is now not that poultry industry is quite safe. They are all scientific management practices are being followed by the farmers. Even the middle size or the small farmers are also following the same. And this concept we have to communicate from the different forum for the insurance company, and we have to call the insurance industry people, more and more people to us to join. Maybe Prabhakaran also, if he appreciate that.
Sure, Dr. Verma. No, that's very useful. I think at some level, we need to make a representation to the insurance player if that be the case. And I think it has to go from the end.
I can be of helpful in that.
Sure, thank you. So I think now we have time for startup presentation, but we also have many questions in the chat box. I think some of them are already being answered. Maybe I can take one or two. So one is for Vijay. Is INFA doing work around combating the issue the poultry industry faced during the COVID-19 infodemic? So I don't know if you want to comment on that, Vijay, very quickly.
Yeah, so actually the question was not very clear, but what I can comment on is that the main during the COVID period in the first wave, what we saw the excess of, you can say, healthcare, the poultry healthcare, whether it is medicines, vaccines, or all the, you can say, healthcare infrastructure needs to be supported. So Infa work together with all the members and all the officials and make sure that there was uninterrupted access of healthcare to the poultry, because it's a livestock, and you need to do timely vaccination, timely treatment, and timely providing the nutraceuticals, feed supplement to the farmers. So one big initiative Infa took was to make sure that we got information from the, you can say, officials, and we circulated those information that these healthcare needs to be come under essential products, so it has to be provided uninterruptedly. Yeah.
Thanks, Vijay. I know that's a lot of help. There's one technical question: how could digitalization support AMR reduction in Indian poultry sector? I don't know, Suresh, you want to take it?
Yeah, I mean, digitalization, yes, I think for sure, like that's what one of the areas we are looking at, I mean, one is, in some sense, digitalization is a long-term game. As data comes in, right, I mean, we are able to predict, maybe using machine language and artificial, that's what we are hoping for, predicting what are the issues that are coming, at seasonal issues that keep coming up, right? I mean, due to water variation or that's one thing. At one end, at again a theoretical level, Heminder, agar samjho nationally ho gaya, samjho somewhere government does that, then we can quickly detect what is happening and detect spread of the disease and control it through medication, through vaccination and all that. So yeah, I mean, and many times that's what happens is that, I mean, even in our farm, one of the farms we recently saw that, there are 3 houses. So, there was a disease in the second house, and, then the guy was technically giving some, sir, ye ho gaya. Well, like, kaisa hua? How did it happen? There is no chance of that happening. Then now, tomorrow, that's what, when we are looking at, tracking people movement and all that, we can clearly see what happened, right? Because a young flock it came with a disease, and then the guy moved from this house to the other house, which was really needless for him to go, but it's just lazy management, right? He just moved from one house to other, he took the disease to the second house. So, now, whereas previously we were just accepting the story, right? Arey, ho gaya. Then I got on the call and said, what happened? Now, that's what we are saying now. How do we track people movement also from house to house? This is what digitalization tomorrow means, right? I mean, then, then we are avoiding that movement. That really, it was not a big deal, but it was very clear, I mean, somewhere very, very casual thing, right? It's normal. Now we are saying, when we are going for EC houses and all that, and we are controlling things to such degree, there was really no need for him to go from one house to the other house, and he took the disease from one house to other house. And so that's what now we are saying with, air tagging and all that coming. So we are saying, can we tag? Why did the employee go from this house to that house? And this is how we need to control ultimately, Heminder, because like how Dr. Ajay was saying, we have gotten a lot of control on how things are done. But, so this is also teaching us how to do things in a new way. So, yeah.
Yeah, Suresh. No, I think what I'm gathering from this discussion, we need to define what are the risks associated, and I think probably it's a worthwhile exercise to define those risks and put some risk mitigation and approach the insurance industry. If the penetration of insurance is so low, I think we need to do something collectively to solve for it.
Yeah.
Great. No, thanks very much for some wonderful insights and very, very pertinent points that all of you made. Please stay with us. We are going to have 4 startups presenting now. Each one will have about 10 minutes to present, and we can get started. First in the order is Aman from Algol Technology. Aman, can you come in, please?
Good evening, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, we can.
Okay. I will just share my screen.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I will share my screen. Okay. So we are Algol Technology. We started long time back. Idea was to do something for farmers and which can help them to uh, come up with the. So this is our vision and mission. We are here to make a better place, our Earth, and our mission is to bring India at number 2 in poultry production by promoting energy efficient small poultry hatcheries and farms, and so contribute in farmers' income. We save energy, which required to manage temperature and humidity for hatcheries and in air in temperature control farms, and we have a wireless sensors and switches which we can deploy, and we can save energy cost for the hatchery owners. We are the team. Myself and Astos are the two who are heading the at this point in time Algol Technology. What we do, we manage temperature and humidity in the closed environment. This is with optimum energy cost, and we have a patent which helped us to achieve this goal. We call it a coordinal management of temperature and humidity in closed environment. Generally, we have seen the problem in the industry is they treat temperature and humidity as a separate two input and they control it separately. But the thing is, by physics, humidity and temperature go hand in hand. So we came up with the concept of coordinal management of temperature and humidity, where we put a graphical depiction of the way temperature and humidity varies with time, and we try to minimize it by, and we can bring up to a 25 to, up to 30% of the energy cost low, depending on the season and part of the year we are running with. And like in winter, we can save more energy, but in summer, we save less energy. Focus industries are for us are poultry hatcheries. Obviously, this we have been working with some of the poultry big players in India for some time. And apart from poultry hatcheries, we also try to do energy management for temperature control warehouses and yarn manufacturers. Our solution is very precise. We have a sensor which are wireless, IoT enabled, and which are battery powered. So retrofitting is also very easy. And we continuously monitor the temperature and humidity. Hatchery is a place which is very sensitive to temperature and humidity. Slight variation and is left for unattended for some time, say 3 hours, 4 hours, hatchability may come down, and all the effort, good work may go in waste, just 3 hours and 4 hours of effort if it's unmanaged. So our sensors take every 10-meter reading. We continuously have a watch on the temperature and humidity. And as soon as it goes out of threshold, we try to bring it normal by automatically switching on and off heaters and humidifiers. These are some advantages we bring on the table to our customers. We are very easy to implement. Our installation is quite easy, as we can just make any normal Indian make incubator into a smart incubator within 30 to 30 minutes of time with retrofitting like our sensors and switches are so easy to deploy. They are wireless, so there is no wiring is required. So, and they are battery powered, so no power supply is required. So we can place them wherever if it's like required in incubator. And our business model is also very poultry farmers friendly. We don't charge any upfront money from our customers or poultry farmers. We let them use our package, and whatever saving we do and whatever improvement in yield we bring for them, and we charge out of the saving we charge for them. So they pay as they go, and whatever profit we generate, they pay out of that profit to us, from that profit to us. Is plug and play platform. Our MVP is temperature and humidity, but apart from it, we can monitor CO2 level and certain other gases parameters, which helps to keep the bird healthy and also have a eye on production and hatchability, like how the hatch is coming up if we have the air quality monitored. Some of the key features, as we discussed, these sensors have a long life. It's not, they have 7 to 10 years of battery life, and so, any sensor can last even longer. And we just need to change battery in say 5 to 7 years of time, and they will continue running. And they are simple and easy to install and manage. And anybody who has a mobile device with internet connectivity on it can view in real time what is the temperature of a machine incubator and how it's behaving. Generally, we have seen in the poultry hatchery, people take the readings on piece of paper and maintain it for one hatching cycle and throw it at the end of the hatching cycle. They don't know what to do with the information they have collected. And they also spend plenty of time in collecting and monitoring this temperature and humidity, and which goes in waste after hatching cycle. So we have taken a every 10 minutes to 15 minutes, we collect a reading and we put it in a cloud, and we can consolidate over hatching and what time of the year it is, and we can plot certain other parameters, and we can later do the data massaging and can come up if there is any issue with the flock, or if there is any issue with the machine environment or something like that. And these data and analytical analysis will help us to go back and refine our process. So that is a key features. Other things we have observed not in poultry hatchery, but any of most of the industries we have seen this go with scheduled maintenance or ad hoc maintenance, which is not the current raise of the day. We see we can save a lot of money here for our poultry farmers with the prescriptive analysis and predictive analysis. Like before the system comes down and production is halted, we can suggest which part of the machine requires to change. The reason we are so continuously closely monitoring the temperature and humidity. If there is a change in pattern, we get the email alerts. Our support team is constantly monitoring those. It's like a extension of the poultry hatchery, which is sitting here and monitoring it. If we see a trend in temperature humidity which is not normal, we get to know which part of the machine is going to create a problem. We suggest a customer. In fact, some of the time we have suggested a customer when they require to look into the like relay is required, is not working, or heater is not working, or water humidifier is not working. And this way we bring the downtime of the hatching machines very less than 3 hours per hatching cycle, and also saves the money for our customers at the same time. This is some of the data which we have over a period of last 4-5 years. We have conducted trials at some of the parts of India, like in Rajasthan, Haryana, and Hyderabad. And we have seen, and depending on the part of the country also, and like in North, we can say more energy because North, like it's cold in winters are very cold as compared to South India. So we can save up to 12 to 30% of the energy cost. Machine downtime is less than 3 hours per hatching cycle. Yield is increased. It depends on certain other factors, but generally we have seen improvement in yield because we consistently maintain the temperature and humidity. There is no fluctuation, and other. It's also like augmented. We work as augmented staff for hatchery owners, so better. There is a yield improvement we have seen in the trials. This is some of the data over a period of trial which we have collected. As you can see, how the electricity consumption is varying here. This is on day-to-day basis. We save some part of it, and over a collective hatching cycle, we are able to save 24% of the energy. It is sometime during the December month in Rajasthan. And then this is a productivity impact. We have also seen before our product installed in a machine, there was a like variation, which is fluctuation is quite high. But as you can see, this blue mark, after this our product was installed, variation came very low. So forecasting is easy. If we, and this is one problem in poultry I have seen also, supply chain. If supply chain is strong and forecasting and everything can be planned ahead of time, even some time is given and there is some, there are and we will be coordinating with some of the other companies also on this. If the supply chain can be planned, like how many and can be numbered livestocks is using some way, then losses can also be contained, and prices and everything can also be managed very easily. This is financial effect. These numbers generally I have calculated. This is just a for illustrative purpose here, and this is assuming a hatchery, medium sized hatchery in India, which have around 40 setters, 50 setters, and 15 or 20 hatches. And if we assume we can say increase the yield 3% and do energy saving 80%, 18%. So this is a number like before, how we install our product, what are the numbers, revenue comings, and how that it will go up. And so in crude sense, we can say if we put our product installation there, and we can bring additional profit of 20 to 30 lakhs per month for a poultry hatchery. This number are not very rigid, but we can definitely bring some profit. But we have seen, if this we have extrapolated the number depending on 2 machine trial and 3 machines. So this number is not the real number here, but this is something which we can see we can achieve. Obviously, as we go ahead and as we work with more and more customers and farmers, we can improve our process, product, and farmers will also help us, and we can definitely, this is what I believe, we can definitely achieve this, or not immediately, but in moving ahead, we can do that. So this is something like conclusion. Now, this is more or less same what we have talked about in previous slide, improving the yield rate and saving energy. And this brings additional profit and also additional income for the farmers, reducing the maintenance of the machine and other things. And our model is very easy: day zero, cost zero. We don't charge any upfront money from our customers. We let them use after signing a MOU with us, and for the first 30 days free of cost. If they like it and they see the value, they sign the contract, pay at the end of the contract, and every month as they go ahead, and so that they can also manage. It's not a like overhead for them at the beginning of the year. They need to shell out 10 lakhs, 20 lakhs to get them a machine smart, a poultry hatchery into a smart hatchery. So we work with them in closely, and we see if they see the value, we will go ahead and we will do the automation of the entire hatchery. So we start with 1 or 2 machines generally with hatcheries, and then we move ahead with that. And we also, this is what we just like said, like how we go ahead with the trial. And thank you. That's it from my side. These are some of the demo videos which are available.
Thanks, Aman. This is very useful and a very, very practical solution. I really like your monetization model, which is success linked. So as you said that you take the share of their saving, typically what percentage do you take? So as you mentioned, if they save 20 to 30 lakhs, what is the fee that you make from your client?
So number is not fixed, because our idea is, unless it's a win-win situation, we want to see a win-win situation for us and for farmers as well. And whatever generally we have seen, it takes 7,000 to 8,000 per month. This is a range we charge per machine, per incubator. And we bring generally we generate 3,000 to 4,000 of electricity saving plus additional chicks, which gives him like 15 to 20, 21, 22,000 of additional income in 1 month. So we charge a portion of it, and they also get. So they both of us get to make money, and at the same time we increase production and we improve the quality of the people who working on the farms and hatcheries. Because we have seen they go through a lot of pressure, and they are just always firefighting the situation. And you can spend 1 or 2 days on the job firefighting, but you cannot do 365 days a year. But this is the truth. In poultry, hatcheries, and farm, people are always fighting and running. So, and our technology can bring up, this is what we see, it can bring the life. Initially, this is what my challenge I have seen in the ground. People said, staff felt we are snatching their jobs initially. Keep bringing technology, people will fire them and will just use their phones and get the things. But this is not our idea. We want the technology here to make their life simple on the job and some additional income, and they can, same number of people can manage more machines with our help. This is our idea which we want to convey. Otherwise, people at the ground level feel very scared with the new technology, and adoption is there comes the resistance to the adoption, the new technology.
I totally understand. So thanks very much for the presentation. Now we move to Yel from SUS Technology. He's joining us from Israel. We look forward to hear from you. Yel, you have to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. We can
Hello,
hear you now.
I hope you can hear us now.
Yes.
Aman, I just want to say your technology is super interesting. I love your presentation. And I sent you my email, so you can send me your presentation. Your product is very interesting from our perspective. So thank you. So hello all, and nice to meet you all. No. Just a second, please. I'm sorry, apologize. My name is Yael Alter. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founder of SUS Technology. SUS is a company that's doing sex reversal in poultry embryos to the benefit of the egg industry, the layer industry. So you can see here in this picture many cute female and male, but the male need to be saved since there are 50% of the live chicks around the globe. Every year, 7.5 billion male exterminated just after they hatch, just because they are male, since they can't lay eggs and cannot gain weight, the same as the broiler male. On top of that, the regulation are I really apologize for that. Just a second, I really am apologize. I need to stop for a minute. Something went through. Apologize for that. Again, sorry. Besides of the fact that globally 7.5 billion male chicks exterminated every year, there is also a regulation issue, mainly in Europe currently. By the end of the year, in France and Germany, it will be unallowed to exterminate the male chicks. And the outcome of it is the price of egg is going to be very expensive in those places. And the last thing that is connected to all of us, this industry is about industry of $220 billion globally. And this is one of the only industry that destroyed 50% of the production every year. So is it possible to change sex in birds? The answer is definitely yes. From biological perspective, it's already discovered that there is specific gene that is responsible to sex reversal in poultry. It's called DMRT1. If you decrease this gene, you get a female, and if you increase this gene, you get a male. So sex reversal is possible for both sides. So how do we scale it up in SUS? We are transforming ZZ male into functional female. We do not change the way the industry used to work. We still hatched eggs for 21 days in the regular process, but we change a bit the temperature, we change a bit the humidity, but the most important thing we add to this process is sound vibration, and that's the thing that mainly affects the sex reversal. So you can see here the picture, at the bottom of the pictures, you can see here SUS incubator. we can, in the near future, we will be able to use any kind of cell incubator around the globe. But currently we're working with this incubator of 4,800 eggs. This incubator is special by the fact that it's more acoustic and more quiet than the regular incubator that the industry is using. The reason is more quiet, since we're working with sound vibration, and what we want is to measure not just what we transmit to the eggs, but we want to measure what the eggs actually hear. And you can see how I'm pointing here at this picture, our sensor system that is measuring many, many points in the incubator. And by collecting this data from the eggs, we are able to improve the protocol from cycle to cycle. Our next generation in technology will be this kind of tray. We're calling that tray smart tray, which will be very easy to implementation in any commercial incubators around the globe. Each egg will receive a very, very minor transducer, and each egg receives the exact kinetic energy that needs to get to become female. And all this data is collecting in a software that we developed that we call a Susitory. And we can see in this picture, you can see exactly where we have male, where we have female, and which of them are converted female and which of them are biological female. So let's talk a bit numbers. In general, if we can see it like that, if we take a study case of a commercial hatchery that hatched about 10 million eggs a year and they have 4 million female, the revenue at the 50-50 male female is about $6 million a year, and the margin is about 20%. If we grow from 50% to 60%, like we are doing now in SUS, the revenue will stay $6 million, but the gross margin will grow to 32%. It means all costs saved get straight to the bottom line. And in 80%, you even achieved a margin of 46%, very close to Microsoft. Our business model is based on a win-win situation with the industry. We want to pay per chick. It means we're going to charge the clients for any additional female chick above the 50%. If exterminate a chick is about $50, that's the cost of exterminating a male chick. And a price in average globally of a day-old chick, I know it's different in India, in the US, in Australia, and other places around the globe, but in general, the price of a female day-old chick is $1.5. The additional benefit for the hatchery is about $2 for every female chick. So if you look globally about the market, if we will be able to convert all male in the world, which means 7.5 billion times $2, the addressable market of SUS is about $15 billion a year. The way we want to distribute our technology is through a distribution agreement with early adopters. We currently have our first pilot in Italy with one of the biggest poultry integration in Italy. The second pilot we're going to have is in the US, and I believe the third one we're going to be in Belgium. All those early adopters will test our technology through a period of 24 months. The reason it's 24 months, since we want them to be sure that not just we are doing sex reversal and we're receiving more female than male, but also we want them to grow those female to a full cycle of growing and see that the outcome, which is the eggs, are completely normal as at the same proportion, the same ratio, and the same quality as any other eggs. Someone smart told me once that we don't really have competitors, but I refer to our competitors to all the companies that are doing sex identification and not just sex reversal. So SUS is the only company that's take 50% that use 100% of the eggs and not just 50% of the eggs. We are the only company that we're not using GMO in our method. And the last thing is eventually the price per egg will be will be lower than the price per egg in the other methods. So we started about 4 years ago, and one of the first things that we did while we established the company is to have our own site. So now we are located in Israel. We have three commercial incubator of 4,800 eggs, each of them. We have our own pullet house and our own layer house. So we are able to do the full process of hatching, pullet growth, and later on layer growing. We grew so far 1,500 layers. All those layers, we compare those layers to 20,000 layers from the same breed that hatched at the same time, but received no treatment of sound vibration. The 1,500 layers that were treated lay eggs at the same proportion, at the same ratio, at the same quality as the control group. So far, we raised about $3.3 million to the company, and now we are about to end the round day of the company investment. We're going to raise additional $6 million to the company. What we're going to do with the money is to grow the number of pilots outside of Israel. And the reason we want to do more pilot is from two main reasons. First of all, we want to find the early adopter, as I said before. The second reason is we want to grow the number of experiments that we're able to do, so we will have much more data. And by getting this data and analyze this data, we will be able to improve the protocol from cycle to cycle in much better way and in a much speed way, if I can say it like that. So a few words about the team. My background is more than 20 years experience as a CEO in various agriculture company. Prior to SUS, I was a manager of a company that built big poultry integration in Israel and around the globe. So I have many years experience in the worldwide poultry industry. Oren Salomon is our professional grower. We are doing all the experiment here in Israel in his farm, one of the biggest farm in Israel. Dr. Kadir is our head scientist. He's a molecular biology from Ben Gurion University in Israel. Dr. Vilenchik is our chief data officer, mathematician from Tel Aviv University. Our CTO is the guy that's responsible from engineering perspective that each egg receive the same frequency at the same volume at the same time. And Alon Gozlan is our VP Business Development. He's the guy that's responsible to all pilots around the globe and to the relationship with the investors. So thank you so much for listening.
Thanks, Yael. This is very interesting solution. One question that I have, I don't see a flag on India. When do you plan to look at Indian market?
Not yet, but we will be happy to do so.
Okay, great. Sure, happy to help you.
Yeah, Hemender, I sent Yael to my email, asked her to connect with me. Let's see.
Sure.
Okay.
Must have got a message from Suresh.
Thank you.
Okay, great. So we move to the next presentation. That's from Venkat from Tender Cuts. Venkat, can you come in, please? You're on mute, Venkat.
Yeah, hi. Just give me a minute. Just let me pull up the presentation.
Sure.
Can you see the screen?
We can see the screen. If you can
Sure.
put it in the slideshow mode, that will be helpful.
I think this is the way it presents.
Okay.
Sure.
Fine. Go ahead then. Go ahead.
Good. So firstly, thank you, Mr. Suresh and ThinkAg for having me here. Very excited to present what we're doing, back here. And it's very interesting to see what's happening in the back end with whatever interesting work everybody else is doing. Firstly, thank you for all the panelists and the participants. Getting into tender cuts. So we are an omni-channel meat and seafood, brand from India, and we deal with poultry, mutton as well as seafood, variety of seafood as well as cultured fishes in our platform and the stores. So essentially, we are trying to solve the whole front-end distribution problem in a way, and we are also trying to change the whole consumer behavior of how meat and seafood is being consumed in India. Now, briefly touching upon the market, India, as many of us know, is a predominantly a non-vegetarian market. It's about more than 70 to 75% of the people consume non-veg in India. And it's more concentrated around southern markets and the coastal markets, while the western markets and northwest markets are about 50 to 60% non-vegetarians. And the per capita consumption has been growing from 4 to 8 in the last couple of years, but it's still long way compared to what other Western countries have been seeing. And with GDP growth, we are seeing this also growing substantially. And today, as of 2019, this industry is a $30 billion industry in India. And as we speak today, we estimate this as close to $40 billion. And we expect the market to become a $75 billion market in 2024, only the domestic market that I'm talking about. Now, while it's such a big market, when you look at the consumer experience, it's completely broken. And back in 5 years back, when we looked at this whole problem, we realized that the entire country is still buying from a unhygienic butcher shop, and the quality is very inconsistent, and there is no cold chain in the whole process. And also the choice of meat or the cuts and everything was completely not available, and it was completely supply driven. And this whole thing kind of brought down the whole buying experience for consumers. So we wanted to go behind this and solve this whole problem of how do you improve this whole customer experience and give consumer choice and everything. That's how the whole Tender Cuts as a brand was born. And we also wanted to keep one thing, was not only solve this at a top of the pyramid, but also in the middle of the pyramid, and to some level as low as possible we wanted to go. So we wanted to solve this at a broader level. So what we really did was, over the first 2 to 3 years, we understood the whole journey, and we moved into a omni-channel model, wherein we give the option of walking into the store and buying the meat, as well as you can order it through your app or a website, or call a call center and place your order. And the same can be home delivered to you within 120 minutes. And we are working to bring this down as we have more number of stores, and the penetration increases. Our vision is to try and make this to even 60 minutes in years to come. Now, if you just look at what we have kind of achieved in the last 5 years, we have 1 million plus consumers in India, and we're growing 2 to 3x every year. And 70% plus of our sale comes from online channels. So we are a true omni-channel company, and we are an online first company as well. And we today have about 30 stores in 3 cities. Most of the stores are currently present in Chennai and Hyderabad, but we just launched our 3rd city, which is Bangalore, very recently, about a week or 2 back. Now, while the industry is so big and all of this was there, one of the biggest problem that we understood was even after a lot of these organized players available for some time, they were not growing in a big fashion in retail and all, because what we understood was from a consumer point of view, still the market was very unorganized. So we tried understanding this to a great extent. What we understood is the consumer always believe, though it's a very bad consumer experience, they still believe that the quality of meat that they are buying in an unorganized sector is still better, because all the culling and everything happens right in front of them, and they are more focused on how freshly the meat is cut and culled and given to them. So that's the whole perception of the consumer per se. So they were directly substituting freshness with how freshly the meat is basically cut and all of this. So for that reason, unlike a Western country, in India, it was very difficult to basically penetrate the processed or packed meat into in the country. So contrary to what any e-commerce or any other sector would do, we wanted to solve this problem from a closer to consumer perspective. So that's when we, instead of going for a centralized processing unit and giving it to consumer against every other competitors who were trying to do that, we took a stand and we went to the omni-channel model for this reason. We wanted to solve what the consumer is expecting, and from there, how do we also solve the backend? So that's the way we took the approach. By this enabled us to give the most freshest meat in the online space, and also the second thing is from a potential perspective also, we believe this model is far more efficient in tier 2 and tier 3, because the entire supply chain gets localized in this model, wherein a centralized processing unit which sits in a metro typically loses that edge on costing, be it unit economics or even the raw material inputs becomes very expensive when you're centered around metros. So that way, we believe we would be able to penetrate even to a very broad level, unlike any other companies working in this space. Now, how did we really get to do this? Is the next question. So when we quickly moved to a decentralized model of solving this whole problem, we understood that the whole sourcing as well as the quality execution, right from sourcing to the execution till consumer, becomes a big play. So that's where we started working with farms like Srinivasa Farms and other pioneers in each of these states, and directly work with them to get the quality produce in terms of poultry. And in terms of mutton and seafood, this is largely broken, and we had to build from on ground on getting these standards maintained and work with the fishermen and the agents on ground to get the right product, and also control the whole supply chain from the port to our stores. And we also centralized a few of the back-end functions, like all the material are brought into a centralized place for quality check, and then it goes to the store. So while the whole delivery, the consumer delivery happens decentralized, a lot of these things are centrally controlled, and we also automated a lot of things in the back end, which helped us achieve this from the farm to the fork. And on the quality front, again, at every stages, we introduce a lot of checks, and we work with all the partners also to get this done at different stages where things can go wrong. And also the biggest thing is to manage the entire cold chain, right? So we work with IoT technologies, right from managing the the whole supply chain from the factories to the store, and to the store to the consumer, on how managing the whole supply chain with a 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Now, if you predominantly look at the technologies that we worked at, it starts from even the consumer in terms of understanding what their requirements are, how their interactions are with multiple platforms, how their purchase decisions are, and then feeding that all these information. And we built a algorithm in the systems which automatically forecast the purchases. And over time, we have kind of used a lot of machine learning algorithms to make it more accurate. And over a period of time, this also reduced the wastages to a great extent. So we have 50% lesser wastage than the industry average, and this is completely brought through all these forecasting models. And this, we also built a in-house ERP module, which basically takes care of all the weight loss and weight gains and all these different parent-child relationships that involved in a meat industry. So a tight-end ERP system gives us a complete visibility of our stocks in the pipeline as well as the store. And this, coupled with the forecasting module, helped us do the planning in a very, very good way, and ensure that fresh meat and seafood is given to the consumer on a daily basis. Now, on the front end, we also created a lot of technology for our employees in terms of controlling critical processes through their check-in, check-out process modules. Also, we brought in a lot of chatbot based systems to ease out the implementation. Right, developing a technology, it has become very easy today, but making it so adaptable and making sure that the ground level, the employees are able to use that without a lot of issues is the main thing that we are going after. And also, we built a lot of technologies in terms of optimizing our last mile delivery, both for cost as well as the shortest time. And we did a lot of work there. So in terms of all the challenges that we are working with and trying to address, I think the biggest challenge that we as an industry will look at in solving in the next couple of years is building the whole supply chain in the back end. I think demand, as everybody talked about, I think the demand is growing substantially, at a scale of 15 to 20% in the country. And in the last 5 years, we understood the whole logic of how to set up stores and how to run the operations to a great extent. And as a company, I think we will become much better at it in the next 1 or 2 years. And more of our focus will actually go into the back end in terms of working with companies like Srinivasa Farms and a lot more startups to make the whole back end more sustainable in terms of cost as well as in terms of social penetration and all of that. And in terms of at core, we are trying to solve the consumption problem in the front end, as well as enable that consumption with a robust supply chain in the back end. So that's what we do today. And with that, I'll close my presentation. Thank you.
Thanks, Venkat. Very, very informative, I must say, and great job you guys are doing. I have 2 questions for you.
Sure.
Since you are an omni-channel player, and in fact, some of your competitors who were 100% online are also trying to become some offline already.
Sure.
So the question is it the, is the customer profile or the consumer profile who's ordering online different from the one who's buying offline, or is it the same customer who on certain occasions do an online purchase and on certain occasions do an offline purchase? So I think that's first question for you. Second question, given the fact that it's a poultry forum, what is the share of poultry versus other meats, and do you see any significant shift happening, or is that ratio more or less stabilized?
Sure. I'll go for the first question. So what we are really seeing is the consumer segment, at least today, right? We are in the very early stage of adoption. Is in this scenario, it is a 2 different consumer segment. a lot of consumers who comes into retail are predominantly retail focused consumers who want to have that touch and feel. And these are consumers who don't, trust the meat so quickly. So they want to, come and buy. And there is a lot of, value proposition that we add there, because we have the most hygienic stores. We make the whole experience like any modern retail. We are completely air conditioned the showrooms. And we also give a lot of products which are typically not available in a traditional market. So that way we are solving that problem as well. But at the core of it, the consumers are completely different, and these are not early adopters, and especially people who are slightly older, especially that typically the online market is predominantly with 25 to 40 kind of a segment, and retail is around 30 to 50 kind of a segment. So there is an overlap, but there also there is a lot of differentiation in terms of who is coming online and offline. And one of the things that we also saw is when you have a retail front, the adoption to online increased drastically. So that's one of the early wins that we had. So for a consumer, seeing is what believing. So right. So for them, it is easy to come into the store, figure out how the operations is happening, and then they get the confidence, and then they go back and order in our app and website. So and also having a neighborhood store and knowing where the meat is coming from also solves a lot of problem for them. So that way we think at least for the next 1 decade retail is going to be a huge segment. And as we grow and more the next generation comes up and all of that, I think it'll the online will become even more significantly bigger. So that's what we are looking at. And typically poultry consumption is very different at different parts of the country. All coastal areas have higher consumption of seafood. Even there, I think the significant part of consumption still lies with the poultry, which is like 40 to 50% in terms of value terms is still with poultry. And the remaining 50% gets divided between, say, seafood and mutton. But when as you go inland, probably say northern regions and western regions, this increases to 60-65% in terms of poultry. So poultry becomes even more bigger. And there are, as we see, I think in the future, this is going to only become higher and higher because of two reasons. One is, like we talked about, the affordability factor, plus poultry is directly seen as the most healthiest choice in terms of poultry, in terms of protein consumption, right? So from that perspective, affordability and healthy choice, it's going to be more of poultry. Also, from the supply backend point of view, it's not, there is the backend is not able to support the kind of demand growth that's happening. So that way, mutton and seafood, incrementally the supply cannot catch up to the demand, and because of that it's going to become more and more unaffordable. So that's what we are seeing happening in the last couple of years. So that way, unless we are trying to solve that problem as well, we are trying to figure out how do we kind of organize the whole mutton and the seafood supply chain as well, as good as a poultry industry. We are working with few firms on that front as well. So, we are looking forward to solving that problem as well.
Thanks, Venkat. Very useful info. And I think good news for the poultry to see that ratio of poultry going up. So thanks very much for your participation, and we look forward to engage with you.
Sure. Sure.
So we'll move over to Rajat from TESOL. Rajat, can come in, please. I think Venkat clearly has put a challenge for you. I think his biggest challenge is backend, and you have the solution, right? So it would be good to hear what you have in store for the poultry industry. Rajat, we can't hear you. Rajat, if you can unmute. No, you're not audible, Rajat. Is it me or is it everyone else?
No, we are not able to hear
We
you.
are not able to hear. We are not able to hear.
You are unmuted, but we can't hear you. No, Rajat, sorry, we can't hear you. I don't know. Are you connected through Bluetooth or something? I don't know. Not with. It's not
Yeah,
audible.
Mike seems to be. Looks like he can hear us, but.
If you're having problem, you can also use your phone to speak.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, there was some issue. Sorry for that. I'll quickly share my screen.
Right.
Yeah, I could actually hear you very well, and I think it's a great segue into what I'm going to discuss. What Venkatesh has spoken. So we are a cold chain products company and a technology which is primarily focused on distribution of perishables. And within the perishable space, I think our experience has been that poultry is one of the very, very critical products, especially when you look at any supply chain. The supply chain looks quite similar, but poultry has a certain set of, certain set of challenges. The product itself is very sensitive. If there is a temperature abuse, then the experience at the customer end completely changes. And I think that's one of the key reasons why cold chain becomes so important. But at the same time, what we also understand is, especially when you look at the traditional poultry distribution model, the delivery of poultry is in a very short period of time. Like the people want to buy early in the morning and they may not buy after 11, 12 o'clock. And that's what we understand from some of the brands. There's also a very distributed delivery model where the quantities may not be very high, and therefore number of drops become very high, and therefore there is a higher chance of product abuse. And in many cases, there's a less than a truckload of material, especially of course, if you're looking at anything in the e-commerce space, then that is of course a load. So I'll look at various options that we have been able to build, and then map them to where in the supply chain they might make sense, right? Now, the primary premise for our set of solutions is to give an alternate to what is conventionally available. Conventionally, you have reefers available. However, the cost of running reefers, and especially for small quantities of material, is quite high. On a monthly rental basis, a Bolero or a Dost may cost somewhere in the range of 80,000-85,000 rupees, while an ambient truck is just about 40,000-45,000. Similarly, if you go to the other end of the spectrum, you'll have solutions where you have a cold box with ice packs. You'll have some people putting dry ice there, which is expensive, but the overall control of temperature is not as good as one would like to have, right? And then this all leads to a much more poor quality compliance. Of course, the partners who are there on board at this point of time, they already have a lot of these systems in place, but I think there is an importance of two elements. One is reliability of the system, and the second is the viability. And I'll discuss our set of solutions, which are based on a PCM technology. PCM essentially stands for phase changed materials, and phase changed material, very simplified, is essentially similar to your ice, right? So water freezes at 0 degrees and it melts at 0 degrees, and therefore whatever is in the vicinity of that will remain in that temperature range. Similarly, PCMs are liquids which freeze and melt at very specific temperatures, and therefore there is a closer temperature range that can be offered within enclosures to be maintained, right? So, and there are two types of systems. One is the active set of solutions, which are similar to electric trucks. You have a full truck, you can plug it in for about 6 hours, you charge the system, and I'll show how it looks like. And then use the system for 10 to 12 hours, and then next day again you can use it for deliveries. Now here the primary benefit is that you are able to reduce your OPEX by about 60% because you are completely eliminating diesel, and now the greatest supporter of diesel prices. So the gap has just increased over a period of time. There are other benefits like, these are like electric trucks. So these are charged PCM plates which don't sort of give away. There is no midway breakdown sort of a problem with these, and much lower moving parts. And then you have the passive solutions which are more adaptable as you go to a smaller truck or a less than a truckload model. And here you have a 60% reduction on CapEx as well as OPEX. So this is, of course, a huge impact on the viability part as well. So if any retailers or manufacturers is finding viability of cold chain, especially in the last mile as a challenge, then this is potentially a solution for them. And I'll sort of go through all the options quickly. And of course, this is also a zero maintenance solution because there is nothing that moves inside. So it's completely static. Once you put the product inside, close the lid, it maintains temperature with multiple openings. And I'll briefly touch upon the active solution. And this is just an idea of what it looks like. As I said, you plug in for 6 hours, you use it for 12 hours, and then you plug it again. So this is the complete cycle that one can use. These are there is an installation of a charging unit in the front. Plug in, and once you plug it in, it will freeze these plates. Once these plates freeze, it will maintain the temperature of the room inside, regardless of whether the vehicle is working, whether the vehicle is not working. So it's completely independent of the vehicle engine. And therefore, in trucks which are smaller in capacity, where sometimes having a compressor running on the engine becomes too much of a load, these kind of technologies can really help. So these are available both in frozen and chilled temperatures, but this is a full truck solution. As I said, the benefit is primarily on the operating cost. The capital cost remains similar or sometimes a little higher as well. But operating cost, definitely a significant saving. This is a second solution where the same full container is based on a passive cooled unit. Now, if many of you work both in chilled and frozen meats, so you may have a chilled cold room and a frozen cold room or operate out of a multi-temperature cold store. These PCM cartridges, the same liquid which is there in the plates is now in these smaller cartridges. These cartridges can be frozen in a frozen room, put inside the truck, and now the truck becomes a temperature control chamber. And it is not like putting a regular gel pack. When you look at the temperature graphs that we have plotted with some of these solutions, each peak denotes an opening. So you're basically delivering and then you're coming back. So every time you open and you sort of close the door, it pulls down the temperature. Right. So from a temperature maintenance perspective, this is an excellent solution, especially if you have a frozen storage available or accessible, then this becomes a slam dunk. Because from a CapEx standpoint, I'll give you a broad sense. If you were to go for a small truck conventional unit, the conventional unit will cost you about 1.5 to 2 lakhs, probably closer to 2 lakhs than to 1.5 lakhs. Here, one set of cartridges may cost you just about 25,000 rupees, right? So you're talking about an order of magnitude difference in the capital cost, and the operating cost is just the amount of energy that it takes to freeze, which is again trivial compared to what you would actually use for running a truck. So this becomes a very straightforward solution to be used if you have access to cold storage. Similar containers can be made within a truck, within a smaller truck. If you're using, let's say, electric vehicles. The other benefit that you have with this system is that the overall payload doesn't go down significantly, right? So you have a container, which is of course the weight, and an average, let's say, EV or a smaller truck will have a 700 kgs payload. 700 kgs, about 200 to 150 kgs might be taken by the container itself. If you put one of these solutions inside, the total weight of the cold chain stuff which is going inside will be about 50-60 kilos. So the rest of it is available for loading, right? And there is no load on the engine. You can have, if you have too many deliveries, you may have a multi-temperature or a multi-door system like you see in the third picture or the second picture. Right? So if so there's a significant amount of flexibility that you have in designing it as per your supply chain, which is the beauty of the solution, right? Option number 3, if you go down and say that, oh, I actually don't want to have any dedicated truck, I just want to use market trucks, right? Like a porter or any other ambient truck, then you use these boxes. Now, how are these boxes different from the ones that I was talking about using gel packs, etc.? So we've done a fairly detailed case study, and we have seen this practically across multiple customers and applications. And this is specifically very interesting when you're looking at a distributor to retailer movement, right? For a large brand, typically movement to a distributor is a full truck movement, and you can take a reefer truck or anything that brings it to the distributor. But from distributor onwards, many a time that becomes a small 3-wheeler or a much more sort of smaller quantity that goes to retailers, and there the order per retailer may not be more than 10, 15, 20 kilos. In those cases, getting a reefer truck is definitely out of question, but even the whole cold chain maintenance can be a challenge, which is what we noted with a specific customer. So here, we did a trial for about 24 days with this customer. This was this data we could get because this was under some kind of a sponsored study. So the initial temperature of the product was about 4.3 degrees. When we delivered it using our boxes and PCMs, which is a minus 11 degree PCM, so you actually maintain a surrounding of around 0 to 4 degrees, and I'll show you that the product temperature came down to 2.4. While at the same time you were using gel packs, there the product temperature went up to about 10 degrees. And at the end of this 5 hours of distribution, there was still a lot of juice left in our cartridge or the PCM. So this is a typical temperature graph that you will see. We also had put loggers inside to capture. So the issue that happens with gel packs is that though they are freezing and melting at about 0 degrees, you don't put enough number of them, because then your product space will go, right? If you put too many gel packs, then your product loadability will get hampered, and therefore you put a few of them. And when you put a few of them, your temperature typically remains in a plus 8 to 10 degree range, depending upon how well they are frozen. But with the PCM, especially at a minus 11, even with 2 or 4 pads, you were able to get a much lower temperature regime, because there the delta T is higher. The temperature difference between the PCM and the desired temperature is almost about 15 degrees. While in a gel pack, it's just about 4 degrees. So any technical calculation will look at how much additional area will be required to get 4 degrees using a gel pack. So this is where we studied the option number 4. And coming to the last mile delivery, we also, in addition to the hard packs, we also have something called a multi-layer soft packs. Now, bag weight becomes one of the major challenges for people, because if they are carrying too much of load, then just not ergonomically advisable. Like, we would want to maximize the product load and reduce the amount of load of the chemical or any kind of a gel pack that the person is carrying. Now, the weight of each of these pouches would be approximately about 4 to 8 grams, depending upon the size of this pack, while a gel pack would typically be about 60 to 70 grams. So if you're talking about 10 packs, you're talking about 500 to 700 grams, or about approximately a kg of weight more. If you're using ice inside this, you'll essentially see the whole bag sort of sweating and leaking from all sides. So this kind of a solution, and the graph that you see below is essentially a graph that has done about 10 to 12 deliveries, and you see the temperature starts going up a little bit at every delivery point, and then finally after about 6 hours is when we have tapered it off, right? And the ambient is constantly between a 35 to a 40 degree ambient, which has been simulated at our end. So essentially the point I'm trying to say is that there are all of these different options that are available, and if somebody says that this is a jugaad solution, or this may just be a contraption, then you can integrate it with any kind of IoT solution. So you got a battery operated small logger that can go inside a bag or a box. There are some other solutions available in the market also. But essentially now the technology is of course good enough to be able to monitor and audit your supply chain right till the end customer. And as Venkatesh was also saying, they do that for right up to the customer. So there you can do it on an absolute 100% or on a sampling level. But these options are definitely available. And therefore, when you again look at this whole supply chain, which I had mapped earlier, there are these solutions of full truck, either active or passive, that can be used at the secondary distribution level, which is your CNF to distributor or cold room to distributor level, and distributor to Horeca or distributor to a modern trade. You could go in for a boxes or a hybrid of this passive solution, and then to home, of course, you have the whole bags as well as maybe smaller boxes. So the whole range is being mapped out, and the primary idea here is to be able to build a solution which is high in reliability, but at the same time much higher in flexibility and is affordable. So so the flexibility is really depending upon how you plan your supply chain and how you want to optimize your supply chain. You can map it to a certain set of products which will give you the reliability regardless of whether you take 5 kgs or you take 500 kgs or you take 5,000 kgs. Right? So that's the whole idea of building this whole suite of solutions, which by the way has also been tried and tested in the market for several years. So it's not something which is a new technology coming in for the first time. We've got several customers that we started with at different levels and different kind of engagements we do with each of them. And so we would really like to discuss and offer this as an alternative to all the eminent members who are there today, and then probably share this with any of your teammates or colleagues or other industry members to see how we can actually help reduce the cost while still making the supply chain reliable. So that's it from my side. Thanks so much, ThinkAg, Hemendra and team for this chance.
Thanks, Rajat. Great to witness TESOL journey over the years, and I think you have come a long way. That's all I can say. It's a very holistic solution, I must say, and I think the poultry industry can benefit a lot, right from production to distribution to online delivery model that we're witnessing. I think you have it all. So thanks very much, Rajat, for joining us today. And thanks to everyone. I think we've overshooted the time, but I think it was worth it. Thanks very much for staying with us for so long. And all the 4 solutions that were presented today by Aman, Yael, Venkat, and Rajat, I think they're solving some very genuine pain points of the industry. And my request to the industry players which are on the call, including Vijay, Suresh, and of course, Prabhakaran and Ajay, if they can take this solution to their customers and clients, I think that'll be very, very helpful. So my request to all of you is to, see it as a start of this relationship. It's not just a webinar. The idea is to create pilots and partnerships. So with that note, I thank you, all of you. I think it's been a great discussion. And I'll request Suresh or Raman if they have any closing remarks.
Thanks, Hemendra. I think, I agree with you. I think already connected with Yale. I've asked Rajat to drop me an email, and I've already instructed Shravani to start working with Aman for her operations, because she's heading a business now. So she's got an upgrade since the last call. So she's heading a business now.
Great, Shravani.
So I asked her to quickly get in touch with them. And of course, Venkateshan, I mean, we are already working together, and I was just talking to somebody who wanted to have some packaging solution for him from a different thing. So I was just arranging that for him. So anyway, so great guys, it's all been, and I think we should also get in touch with Dr. Ajay soon to see how we can work on the insurance thing, because I think we can help I think somebody needs to bridge the farmer and the insurance companies. In terms of that, I think Srinivasa would be very. We've always done that, but for some reason on the insurance side, we have never really taken it seriously. But I think high time we took it and then do that. And yeah. So with that, thank you all very much. It's been we learned a lot. Thank you, Hemant. I think till next time. It's a series of conversations, as we said. We wanted to continue having this, and it's good. A lot of people are coming forward. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Suresh.
Thanks so much.
Thanks for partnering with us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hemendra. Thank you, Suresh sir. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thanks,
Thank
Vijay.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks. Thanks so much. Thanks so much.
You.